Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session with your host,
Michael Rearden.
All right. How are we doing, Deshaun?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. So we're just going to be talking about your work today, life and mindset coach. What got you into this type of work?
So let me combine some things. It was a journey. The failures that I had through my marriages, the success that I've had through my careers, and then to accumulate that, I've been working the last 3 years as a psych nurse at a partial hospitalization program. And following my coach, Wes Watson, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to get into lifestyle coaching, help more people, and expand what I'm doing.
So I do want to get into 3 successes, 3 failures, and 3 takeaways from career and marriage from you, because I think that's going to be impactful to not only set the tone for our episode, but for creating similarities for many people, because I know many people are going through the ringer with career and marriage right now. So I think it's good to really tie into being relatable.
So 3 successes, 3 failures. Successes in marriage. One, I feel that despite going through my 3rd marriage, I still have love in my heart. I haven't lost it, and I'm not jaded on marriage as an institution or on people for that matter. So that's 1 success. 2 successes, the second success would be that I can still open my heart up in it despite the hurt and pain that I've experienced through each divorce. I'm still open to love, open to finding the right circumstance. And then the 3rd success would be I haven't lost myself. In the midst of going through 3 divorces, it easily could have tanked my mental health, thrown me for a loop. I may not have recovered going through those, but I've been able to maintain who I am despite going through those. So 3 successes with professional career. Physical therapy assistant. I was a physical therapy assistant prior to being a nurse. I used that knowledge initially to help springboard me into nursing. That would be my 2nd success. I went through nursing school during COVID. Nobody would ask to go to nursing school during COVID. I was one of the only Black males in that program graduating at that time. That created some unique perspective difficulties. I learned to ask all the time. I found that when my counterparts were going to study, they would click up with predominantly women that look like them. I wasn't the first to get asked to go study. So I had to humble myself. And my 3rd success is now I am divorced, but despite going through that last one, I was able to establish the lifestyle brand, the Psych RN Fit. In the midst of that storm, I was able to stay focused, daily discipline, habits, and maintain myself despite it seeming and feeling like everything was falling and crumbling around me. I was still able to keep working as an RN and use that to funnel and function through the lifestyle coaching.
You do have to have a strong mindset to go through trauma, adversity, struggles, challenge, and be able to still remain positive and look at the good side of the equation. Because we often look at something that happens in our life that's negative and we begin to ruminate on it. For example, let's say, you could be at work or something, and since you're maybe new to the profession, you might get some feedback from your manager, supervisor, whatever, right? And they tell you all the positive things first, and then they hit you with that one negative. They're like, you know what? I think you could work on this a little bit. And you're like, man, I thought I was doing so good. People do that so readily. They hear, like they're doing a kick-ass job. And then all of a sudden they have one thing that they need to work on. It's like, oh my God, my world is falling apart. What do you say to those people who get, some bad news and they're like, this is the end of my day?
I'm going to offer the same type of analogy you did, and I'm going to change the perspective just slightly. How I phrase this is, we all go through death. Everybody on this planet will experience somebody close to them who they know who has died in their life. It is not the death that impacts us. It's the perception of the death. The death can have you ugly crying on the floor through all that pain, or B, it can push you to the next level, give you that drive, motivation, and energy. So what I've learned is it's not the event, it's the emotion that we tie to it. The minute we tie that negativity to the event, we then shape our perspective to find things to confirm it. Versus the minute we shape it in the positive, our brain finds things to confirm that. So that's how I look at it. It is always perspective, Deshaun. The analogy you used, what people tend to forget is that boss gave you 3 compliments first, but we threw them out the window the minute the boss offered constructive criticism. And I don't do that. I remember that if the boss gave me something, if it applies to me, then it's applicable. I need to change it, make some adjustments. If not, I push it off to the side and keep pushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is more so of like a generality for what people typically tend to do. Like how we operate is definitely different, especially as mindset coaches, I'm sure. But, many people just kind of fall into the habit of negativity is their primary source of mental attention. The brain is naturally attracted to negative. So like, that's why, people are hooked on dramas or something like, I don't know if you remember, it was an old show, Love and Hip Hop. Like, I don't even know all the I don't even know all the shows that are out right now. I know it's like The Bachelor probably is still out, Bachelorette, Bachelorette or whatever. There's just too many, but they're all built on drama. Like that's what people love, like the tension. And I tell people, like, instead of like immersing yourself in that drama, why not immerse yourself in your development? Because that's so much more powerful and so much more uplifting. And I was thinking about momentum, as you were saying, so we get those positive things, like things are going good in our life, but we have to take action. It's like perception. So like if someone dies, like what do we do? Do we just sit there, cry, or we use that momentum to build ourselves up and to transcend our level? I was thinking of an analogy of basketball. I don't watch basketball like that, but if someone's going down court, right? So it's like a runaway and, it's one defender on the guy and then the other guy has a teammate coming. He's going to kind of lop the ball up, right? Because if he was trying to make a layup, it would be pretty difficult to make it at that speed. So he lops the ball up and he's hoping, or maybe he sees his teammate to come in for that dunk, where it's, that momentum. He was going so fast, but he was able to use that effectively to create a play. Where many people, they're just kind of going, don't see the play. They kind of become, one-tracked, tunnel vision is what they call it, where they only see what's like right in front of them instead of their surroundings. How can a person develop that skill to start to see what's around them rather than only what is presented right in front of them? And this is also a different way to kind of put my question before. If we're so focused on the negative, how can we see the positive? So like, how can we train ourselves to see almost like universality or like surround, like a 360 type of thing versus, just that, singular, maybe 45 degree?
So I have 2 tactics that I use. One is staying in the moment. I don't let myself progress backwards through depression, thinking about things that I can't change. And I don't let anxiety take me forward, focusing on the future and things that I haven't happened yet. So that's one, stay present in the moment. The second thing is, for me, it's, can I explain this? I always want to make sure that if I get a negative notification, for me, it's telling me, Deshaun, you need to do something positive. So I switch the perspective for not most, but what I tend to see in mental health is patients get a negative notification and then they follow it up with the poor physical action coping skill. I've reversed it. Deshaun, when you get the feeling that you want to isolate, that is actually telling you that you need to get up and go to your supports and do something. So I've changed how I've looked at the negative notification. It's now telling me to do the exact opposite. Stay in the moment. Negative notification means you reverse engineer it and do the opposite.
I do want to get into your medical career a bit because there's a question I want to ask that it has been on my mind probably for the past couple of weeks, maybe month. And it was something that I wanted to ask a guest because it's something that we should be looking at. And I always ask different variations of this. And, you working in the medical field, you do both good news and bad news, I'm sure, right? Like when you have to tell a patient something, right? Like, do you want the good news? Do you want the bad news? Or, I'll only have is bad news right now. Sometimes a patient will get bad news that they're terminal, right? They got 3 to 6 months left to live or something like that, right? But then sometimes the patient is, I don't know, hardcore, or they're just so resilient that they say, you know what, I'm not going to take 6 months. I'm taking 6 years, or I'm taking 20 years. And there's so many stories of that. And of course, there's, stories of people not making it too, even if they have a strong mindset or a good outlook. What is your take on bad news when it comes to you or when it comes to someone else?
So I use the experiences that I see when every day I see patients come in telling me their self-limiting beliefs, their negativities on why they can't, why their day's not going well. And so one of the first questions I ask them, if you're telling me that things are going so you're off today, what have you done to be on? Since you woke up, what have you done to put yourself in a better position? Because it does not happen by chance. Negativity happens all the time, but you putting yourself in a better position is a verb. It requires that you take action daily. So I asked my parents at 12 o'clock, I asked them, what have you done from 7 a.m. when you got up till 12 to put yourself in a better position? And if you don't have substantial answers, then why are you wondering why you're feeling so negative at that point, or your depression's high, your anxiety's high? In my opinion, most people aren't taking the necessary action steps. It's discipline. When I hear patients come in, I don't feel like it, is a cardinal. I don't feel like it. And I tell them, feeling comes last. You have to do the action first, and then your belief will follow afterwards. But if you keep waiting for the belief to happen, you're probably going to be waiting.
What would you say are the top 3 vices that people have that are stopping them from living a life full of happiness and fulfillment?
From my perspective, I would say definitely self-love and confidence, or self-worth, love and confidence, all 3 combining, top number 1. In my experience, I have seen patients with high confidence and low confidence, both with depression, sit at the same table. The one difference that I see is the high confidence individual, a patient that still loves themselves, closes the door that much quicker. They still deal with depression. They still deal with anxiety, but they let it affect their self-worth less. So that would be my number 1, self-love, confidence, self-worth. Number 2, lack of purpose, or purpose. I'll say that, lack of purpose, period, hands down. I will see patients come in, and the number 1 question I will ask is, what is your purpose? And I will hear crickets. And so I'll try to work through that, where what would you do if you weren't getting paid? What do you enjoy that you wake up and want to do that drives you and motivates you? And a lot of times that is work trying to find out what their purpose is. And then the third, I would find, I'm going to combine, because depression, anxiety, either A, they're projecting forward about the things that they can't control, or B, they're projecting backwards about things that already happened that still plague them.
I think those are spot on. One of the things that stick out to me is confidence, because when does a person learn to be confident? Like, if we truly think about it, typically it happens when we're younger. From our parents say, good job, they support us. Maybe our teachers, like we have a really good teacher, they support us. But past that, maybe if you play sports, you will get some type of, good job, good shot, that, that can make you confident. But in the adult world, it's almost like we have standards and expectations, and confidence almost takes a backseat or back burner approach.
For me personally, when I tell people, if you are expecting other people to fill your cup constantly and motivate and uplift you, you are going to be disappointed. Self-validation is the most important form of validation. If you want to put yourself in a better position mentally, physically, overall, you have to self-validate. In the midst of all the people, you are going to encounter opposition from people in your inner circle, from people that don't know you. And in those midst of that, you have to be able to talk to yourself savagely to be able to lift yourself up. And for me, it has come from self-validation, because I have found nobody is going to come fill my cup as much as I am.
Very true. What happens when you surround yourself with these wrong people in your life? So let's say you have some friends that are just not, beneficial to you. Maybe they want to smoke all the time, drink all the time, and whenever you're around them, they, want you to indulge with them. And of course, we're adults and we can say no, but peer pressure, is so powerful. Like, if I had to say what's more powerful than peer pressure, I would have a hard time thinking about like what's more powerful than that, because it is part of our our development when we are like teens, like especially if you go to the public schools. It's like they're wearing these clothes. If I don't want to be bullied, I have to, fit in with my peers. And it's so powerful, and it has a lasting stigma effect into our adulthood that sometimes we have a hard time discerning who's for us and who's not for us. And of course, as you said, we should be for us. But if we can't even love ourselves, that's typically when people start to look for other people to love us because we have such a hard time. How can we find our circle better?
In my opinion, once you start to be in alignment with your goals, your purpose, it starts to attract your tribe, people around you. You also have to be social. You have to put yourself out there. They aren't just going to necessarily come and find you. How it is, the law of attraction. You put the energy out, it attracts that energy back. So that's one way I think that you can maintain that social and find those people who are in your circle. Because if the current ones who maintain or are in your inner circle aren't validating you, I would A, set a boundary, or B, if you're going to keep yourself in that environment, you better make sure you are self-validating despite what all the negativity they are bringing around you. Another way I might look at it, if an alcoholic decides to step back into a bar, he or she better know that they are capable of withstanding the situation of which they're walking into.
Very true. When it comes to, like those vices and stuff like that, like, I don't know, like I have a very different approach to it. It's kind of like a stubborn approach. Like, I don't want to drink and stuff like that. If I do have a drink, like it might be one, but it's like rare because it's like I get no benefit. Like there's no benefit to drinking alcohol. Like the body can't even use it. It like the liver has to get rid of it. So you just wasted $13 on a drink for what? To look cool, to take a picture? Give me your drink real quick. I'll take a picture with it. But,
Right.
like people have, this skewed mindset today of being pronounced. And the way they do it is through social media accreditation. It's like, if I could be this big person on social media and I can show my glamorous life on social media, think of a relationship, for example. On social media, they'll post all their pictures, all their trips, loving and holding hands. Oh, they got me champagne. We're in Italy today. But they don't show the hard moments. They don't show the fights. They don't show the bickering, the toxic parts of it. They only show the good. Do you think that this perception is lying to ourselves or lying to others, predominantly?
So for me, authenticity is key. If you are going to put yourself out there, we'll use a social media example, you should be showing it all of it. Because what you're doing in presenting that only the good side is that falsehood, like there's no negativity going on in your life. And I know that to be going through life, that is exactly true. So when it comes to my lifestyle coaching, I try to present it all. When I'm going through and things don't look bad or don't look good, absolutely, you're going to see it. When I think I'm on top of the world, you're going to see that too, because that's how I related to my coach, was his authenticity. He didn't hide anything. He showed it, bared it out. Things that people would say, you do not put that out there. Why? Real life, these things happen. So I'm supposed, because of your ego, I shouldn't show what I'm going through in my life and it might benefit someone.
Yeah, it's like if a person, started a business and they were not only successful, but they failed along the way too. So when they're helping people that want to begin that business, they could say, I did this, I tried this, there was a mistake. But then also we have to think about limits too. For example, if I was trying to break the 4-minute mile before John Bannister did, I would, be considered, this crazy person. Like, it can't be done. Everyone's trying to do it, but they can't do it. But then John did it. And then 10 people in the next week or so or a month did it. So it's just like, if we see that it's possible, then we can. And I have found that, limits are going to be something that the person has to decide for themselves. If you think you can do something, then do it, right? Tony Hawk, he's a big pro time skater. He was doing things that, people have never done before. And that created a generation after him to do even crazier things. So now when he goes to skate parks and events, he's like, that's crazy. I would never have thought that was possible. And it's because someone was able to push the bar little by little. How do you help people push the bar in their life?
For me, it starts with the self-love, confidence, and then their self-limiting beliefs. One, I need to raise your confidence in yourself, because typically when I start with a new client, they don't believe me.
Yeah.
I'll tell them, when I'm working out, we're going to do 50 burpees. And they'll tell me I can't. I've never done it before. So we need to get past your self-limiting beliefs, and we need you to love and believe in yourself. Once we address those two, the sky's the limit. Once patients or clients that I'm working with love themselves and can start to chip away or limit their self-limiting beliefs, the sky's the limit.
Very true. People often create their own obstacles. The quote I love to say is, the biggest wall we will ever climb is in our mind, and we put it there. And it's so true.
I like it.
Because we are the proponent of our success, and we are often the proponent of our failure, because comfort can kick in, lack of confidence, as you said, self-love. Being fake, not being authentic to ourselves. All of these things are like anchors that stop us from truly flying or reaching great heights. So we are being weighed down. We have to learn to get rid of these shackles and these vices that are not helping us become the person that we want to become. I do want to talk about mistakes again, because this is important now, because as we had our conversation, we were talking about building ourselves up, things that we should be doing. And I know there's people right now, just from the flow of the conversation, that are thinking exactly this. They're thinking, Michael, I don't want to make a mistake. Deshaun, I don't want to make a mistake, right? I want to do these great things, but I don't want to be ostracized from my friends. I want to have self-validation. I want to be able to love myself, and I want to be confident in myself. But, there's just this mind frame that I'm in right now that is just not helping me. Maybe they can have a huge financial debt causing stress and anxiety and all of these things. Maybe they had bad moments in their life and they just are in a really tough spot. What can we do for those individuals?
When I hear that, what I hear is they're comfortable where they're at. And when I ask you to step out onto that uncomfortable growth, it requires you to say things like, I don't know, but how is this going to work? I might fail. What's going to happen with the money? All these questions are legitimate. What I tend to notice is we let the thought of failure stop us, not the failure. Most people don't even make it to the failure. They let the thought of failure stop them. So you've got to get to the point where your goals and dreams, a part of it is I might fail. It is a radical
powerful
acceptance. Yes, that you have to accept that part of my dream and goals is that I might fail. But then I can pick back up and start over again with more knowledge and experience this time than I had the first time, which leverages you into a better position. So people get afraid of failure and just have to understand it is a critical component. You don't get the positive. You don't get to the top of the mountain without knowing that you might fail to get to the top. It's a given.
There's a saying, and I'm going to butcher it. It's like, I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting from wisdom. Where people, they learn from their mistakes. And one of the best things a person can do is to learn from someone else's mistakes. My father, one of the things he has done really well is fail in life. And I say that not to belittle him, but what he gave me was because he went through the struggle. So I didn't have to go through it. He made it very clear, like, this is what I'm going through, so you don't have to go through. And oftentimes that passing of the narrative of wisdom, it falls short because we fail to understand that this failure was visible to me, but it won't be like visible to my children or the next generation. So if I see someone succeeding, I don't necessarily look at their failures. Most people, when they see someone successful, they say, "Oh, I want that life." They don't worry about the things that they have to deal with, the traumas, the bad moments. They only see the success. And so what tends to happen is we start to move into new generations where failure was never prevalent and they only see success. So they develop this perfectionist type of mindset where they only want things to be perfect. And as you said, most people don't even make it to perfect because they don't even start. What do you say to the people who are trying to make things perfect, trying to wait for the right time? It could be, I want to wait for the right time to go into nursing, but you went into nursing when it was the pandemic. I want to wait for the right time to go into a marriage when I'm more mature, when I find the right love. Like, what do you tell these people who are waiting for the right time?
For those waiting for the right time people, you're overthinkers. You are trying to plan yourself into a perfect position, which doesn't happen. What you want to do is plan yourself into an imperfect position. And that's where you want to start. So many people want to plan that stuff out all the way they want to plan from A to Z. That's not what happens. Life only reveals itself to you one step at a time. It's not going to show you the whole path. So you need to accept that you're not going to get the whole path. You're going to get one step at a time. The next time you take the next step, you get a little bit more. And that's how it happens. You just don't get the whole path laid out in front of you.
What is the power of having a coach or mentor?
For me, what I've learned is my coach didn't lay out for me every step I was supposed to take. What he told me was what you said earlier. Hey, Deshaun, don't do this. Avoid these mistakes. This is the pattern that I did that worked for me, that if you want to use as a template, you can use to work for you. So to me, a coach, most people want to start something, like they want to know where to do it, how to do it. And I remember when I first became a nurse, they were always telling me, you have to think like a nurse. You have to think like a nurse. And I was like, what do you mean? How do you think like a nurse? I'm just starting. It's my first class. What they were telling me was, Sean, you need to find a mentor. You need to find somebody who can show you, teach you what you're trying to do and how to do it in the best and most efficient way possible. So you can try to start out life and endeavors on your own. In my opinion, you're going to take the scenic route compared to trying to find a coach that can help guide you in a more efficient manner.
Powerful, because I've found that there's so many different types of coaches. There's so many different types of personalities. And one of the things I do here in Coaching in Session is I bring on coaches from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds, with all different stories, with all different ups and downs. And I present them to the world because I understand that my life is not going to resonate with everyone, or my style of coaching is not going to resonate with everyone. But I always say there is a person for you. Think of it as a soulmate. There is a person for you. They're out there somewhere. It might be hard to find them. There is that job for you, for you to find that fulfillment. Some people, they think that it's going to be those blanket jobs. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a fireman. And sometimes they go into, those professions and they find love, but then sometimes they just find complacency. And so we have to step away from that complacency type of living. And if we go into something where we don't find a true meaning, don't be afraid to adjust and make some changes. And I have found that when you can equip yourself with a good coach that has your back, that resonates with you, you're going to be someone who takes action so much more readily. I think about when I was in school and I would have a teacher who truly cared about me. I wanted to be a better student. It wasn't because I wanted to be a good student. It was because that teacher was pushing me and not just saying, hey, you need to study like my mom and my dad would. But there was someone else out there who saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And it's so powerful when you have someone who can do that for you and put them on your team, have them sit right beside you, not across from the table saying, hey, I'm here with you. I want to be your cheerleader. I want to be your greatest supporter. I want to see you win. And our conversation today is definitely one that many people will gravitate toward because it is a real authentic conversation. It's not so much of, my life is perfect and I didn't have any ups and downs. Like it was only up. We have those
No.
ups and downs because that is life, right? That is something that people look for. They want to see that person that was battered and bruised, not, the knight in shining armor that has never been in battle. All right. We want the adversity. We want the challenge because that helps us grow. So as we begin to unwind, I would love to get some final words and thoughts from you, and then for you to tell the audience where they can find you.
First, I want to thank you for having me on. Thank your audience for listening, tuning in, taking time out of your day. That's very important. I just want to leave you with a little bit of wisdom. You have more power than what you think. More than likely, your self-limiting beliefs have limited your ability or your thought process. You can change that. You can get out of that negative mindset with a new thought process, new action, and you can progress yourself forward. One of the best quotes my coach ever told me was, Deshaun, I spent 10 years in prison and I got out in 6 and I'm a multimillionaire. What's your excuse? Took that one to heart. So now I get rid of my self-limiting beliefs. I do believe that I can reach as far as I can. There's nothing in my way but me. In fact, there's been nothing in my way but me for everything in life. I mean, if I tell you my obstacles, the ones that were the biggest came from me or my own brain telling me that I couldn't pass nursing school, that I couldn't be a PTA, that I couldn't be a lifestyle coach. I can. I just finally had to believe it. So my name's Deshaun Jackson. I like to tell people podcast, book, movie on the way. Stay tuned. If you need a coach, somebody to help you push past the self-limiting beliefs, or if you're struggling with weight, mindset, get with me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram under the PsychRN Fit, and I'm here for you.
Perfect. And I make it easy for everyone. All the links are going to be in the description box below. You said you have a podcast or it's coming out?
On the way. It's me projecting to forward. It's coming. It's happening.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So definitely when that podcast drops, you definitely want to tune into that. So important to not only support, podcasters or, people who are trying to make a ripple effect, because what I have found with podcasts is that anyone can come and anyone can go. It's not like you're walking into a seminar. So think of like a Tony Robbins seminar or something. Like you go to Tony Robbins and you're like, great, I spend so much money on these tickets and now I'm stuck in here for the next 3 days or whatever. And you might have found yourself on day one, like, I'm not ready for this. And maybe you're on your drive to work or to the grocery store, and maybe, motivation and listening to personal development and self-help stuff is not for you that day, right? So you turn on some music or whatever, right? Get yourself in the mood. But then on those days when you want to make some adjustments, that's when you dive deep into that motivation, into those podcasts that are going to give you good, uplifting conversations like we had today. And, what you're doing, Deshaun, is good work, and it's helping so many people to understand that they can have the confidence to take action. They can find purpose in their life, and they can live authentically if they choose to do so. So I do want to thank you for coming on, being that beacon to help people, and to be the testament that you can fail, you can fall, but you will always get back up.
All right. Thank you for having me on, Mike.